Good morning, sir. Good morning, classmates. Good day, everyone. We are the Group 2. My name is Janet Balanza, and my group mates are Asabar Joan and Eliazar Bernalin. So, we were going to report Module 6 entitled Juvenile Delinquency and Crime. So, in the next slides, the objectives. So, at the end of this module, students should be able to first, learn about the other social problems such as juvenile delinquency and crime. Second, explain the cause of juvenile delinquency. And lastly, know how to prevent delinquency. On the next slides, before we start, as you can see, you will see a picture that says juvenile delinquency. And according to the picture, as you can see, the hands with handcuffs and a person who committed crimes. So in the next slides, we will define the meaning of juvenile delinquency. So juvenile delinquency, also known as a youth crime, is participation in illegal behavior by minors. So in juvenile delinquent naman po is a person who is under the age of 18 commits an act that otherwise would have been charged as a crime if they were an adult. So to define juvenile delinquency, so it is a young person whose conduct is characterized by antisocial behavior that is beyond parental control and subject to a legal action. Also, in juvenile delinquency, it is a status offense is an act that is only illegal because the offender is a minor. For instance, underage drinking and running away from home are status offenses. Next, the crime. It is an act harmful not only to an individual but also to the community or the state. Such acts are forbidden and punishable by law. To define crime, so a crime it occurs when someone breaks the law by an overact or omission or neglect that can result in punishment. A person who has violated a law or a breach a rule is said to have committed a criminal offense. So in the next slides, Mil Eliazar will discuss who our juveniles are.
Who are juveniles? There are two main types of offenders. The first one is repeated offenders. Repeated offenders are also known as life course persistent offenders. This juvenile delinquency begin offending or showing other sign of antisocial behavior during adolescence. Repeat offenders continue to engage in criminal activities or aggressive behavior even after they enter adulthood. In short, those are the children or child who continue to engage in criminal activities or aggressive behavior. Example nito is yung mga binata na around 10 to 16 years old na nagkaroon ng kaso o nag-commit ng crime. For example is nag-commit sila ng rape. Then after nun, nag-commit ulit sila ng crime which is rape din. The second one is age-specific offenders. This type of juvenile delinquency behavior begins during adolescence, while age-specific offenders leave their delinquent behavior behind when they enter adulthood. They often have more mental health problems, engage in substance abuse, and have greater financial problems than adults who were never delinquent as juveniles. In other words, this is a type of juvenile delinquent behavior begins during adolescence and it ends before the minor becomes an adult. Example naman nito is yung mga underage smokers and underage drinkers. Yun yung mga binata o mga dalaga na under 18 years old na umiinom ng mga alcoholic or naninigarilyo. Factors involved in juvenile delinquency are: first, peer pressure. Peer pressure relates to juvenile delinquency, and peer influence has the greatest impact on adolescents because peer or friends can influence their fellow peer group or their fellow friends to engage in criminal activities. We all know that nowadays teenagers spend more time with their friends than adults, especially when they need someone to listen to their problems. For example, when parents work longer hours and have less time for their children, the child will go to their peers or friends to seek emotional support, and the child encouraged by their friend to do uncommon behavior like drinking alcohol, smoking, or using marijuana or drugs. The second one is lack of parental guidance. Poor parenting skills, child abuse, or antisocial parents are all risk factors for juvenile delinquency. A child who are raised in families where there is no parental guidance commonly have low self-esteem. This lack of trust makes setting relationship with their peers difficult, and so these children may will be easily influenced and convinced into crime. For example, if parents become busy with their jobs and don't spend enough time with their children, they don't have time to talk to them, listen to them, know their problem, and simply do not know their child enough. As a result, children don't get the attention they need and deserve. So, the children turns to antisocial behavior, or the child becomes disobedient in the hope it will eventually alarm the parents and remind them of their existence after being notified. The next one is population explosion. Negative consequence of population explosion: people will compete not only for space but also for food, water, and air. The more hostile their behavior becomes, crime and lack of respect for others or for other people becomes more common as personal space is reduced. Violence is more prevalent in highly populated areas, as are other forms of criminal behavior. In many cases, street children later become young offenders, having already encountered violence in their immediate social environment as either witness or victims of violent acts. Example, if you grow up in a crowded place, and especially if the crowded place you grow up in is surrounded by many people who have disobedient behavior, there is a great possibility that you and others like you will be influenced, which leads to increase the number of crime or criminal activities in a community or society. The next one is illiteracy. Children with learning difficulties and child with poor academic skills have a higher propensity for gang membership, which is more likely to be delinquent and has the chances that they have involved in juvenile justice system. For example, individuals with a literacy levels wanted to get a job, and they more likely to have few employment options and outcomes, as well as lower income because they struggling with things such as completing forms, and applications, and knowing government policies. As a result, they are more likely to be well-being, low self-esteem, and commit more crimes. And the last one is poverty. Poverty is a severe factor in juvenile delinquency that is getting worse every day. Youth that are living in poverty are all under pressure to survive in low social economic communities that lack resources such as job opportunities, financial support, medical services, and education, and many more. These young people are prevented from succeeding in a culture that rewards the wealthy because of the scarcity of resources in their areas. People who lack resources are more inclined to turn to crime. For example, is children in covered areas deal with much more adverse circumstances including gang members, slums, and an overall criminal environment. And that's all the factors involved in juvenile delinquency.
So the next reporter is Joanne Casabar.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, sir. In a property crime, a victim's property is stolen or destroyed without the use or threat of force against the victim. Property crimes include arson, car thefts, bulgaris, and larceny. When we say arson or panununog, the crime of intentionally starting a fire in order to damage or destroy something, especially a building. For example, a tenant could set fire to his rented home, but a landlord could not set fire to the tenant's home, even though the property is owned by the landlord. Motor vehicle theft, also known as car theft. It is criminal act of stealing or attempting to steal a car vehicle. Tips for preventing auto theft: lock your doors, remove your key from the vehicle, close the windows, install an audible alarm system and anti-theft device. Bulgari means breaking into a house or other building to commit theft or another crime. An example of Bulgari is someone breaking the lock on the back door on your house and stealing your things. The last one, larceny. It is the term that means common theft, taking the property belonging to someone else. Crimes and offensive behavior may be arrested for violent crimes: aggravated assault, homicide, rape, and robbery. Aggravated assault is the unlawful by one person upon another for the purpose of inflicting severe or aggravated bodily injury. Homicide, the killing of one human being by another. Homicide is a general term and may refer to a non-criminal act, as well as the criminal act of murder. Rape, to force someone to have sex when they are unwilling, using violence or threatening behavior. When we say robbery, the crime of stealing from somewhere or someone.
Do juvenile crimes differ from adult crimes? Yes. A juvenile and an adult may commit exactly the same act, let's say stealing a car, but the justice system will treat these two individuals very differently. The juvenile justice system and the adult justice system have fundamentally different goals. The goal of the juvenile justice system is to reform and rehabilitate the juvenile offender to help him become a productive member of society as an adult. The goal of the adult justice system, in contrast, is to punish the defendant and protect society at large. These differing goals are evident in every phase of a criminal proceeding. For example, the adult who steals a car will be charged with a crime. The juvenile will be charged with a delinquent act. The adult may be incarcerated until the time of his trial if he cannot post bail. The juvenile may be released to the custody of his parents. The adult will have a public trial. His guilt or innocence will be determined by a jury of his peers. The juvenile will have an adjudication hearing before a judge. The judge will hear evidence and determine whether the juvenile is delinquent. In keeping with the goals of the adult justice system, the adult will be sent to prison to punish him if he is found guilty. If the juvenile is determined to be delinquent, he may be incarcerated in a juvenile detention center, but not before the judge has explored other options that might better serve the juvenile's interests. This might include counseling, substance abuse treatment, restitution, community service, or other alternative sentences designed to reform and rehabilitate the minor.
Preventions. In order to prevent the juvenile delinquency, following measures may be suggested. Number 1. Creating a team at government as well as private level for the prevention. Create a team or producing more personnel to improve the widening and jurisdiction for faster way and prevention of juvenile delinquency. Giving proper training to the members and the staff of all organizations concerned with delinquency control. Giving proper training to improve the efficiency of each person member of the organization. Establishing child guidance clinics or give appropriate treatment to the distributed and maladjusted children. Establishing child guidance or giving them proper attention and support they need and giving less pressure to the child to prevent them from being delinquent. Educate to the families to realize the importance of giving proper attention to the needs of their young children. Providing also the knowledge and importance of giving proper attention to the child and supporting the growth of their children rather in a way that it does not totally control over the pressure of them. Last, improving the local environment, slum areas, busy markets, places, and etc. Social environment also contribute a major effect in the growth of the children, because if a child coexists with people who are related to crime, tend to adopt their behavior. That is why they need to improve that environment to become peace for the children to prevent from being delinquent.
So in the summary, a juvenile delinquent is a juvenile who has violated the law. Juvenile delinquency also includes those youths who violate rules that pertain only to youths and wouldn't be considered an offense if committed by an adult. These are status offenses. So next, the study of juvenile delinquency includes children who are neglected, dependent, physically or psychologically abused, or caught between warning parents. And lastly, delinquency prevention aims to reduce the risk factors for delinquency before antisocial behavior or the delinquency becomes a problem.
Justice demands integrity. It's to have a moral universe, not only know what is right or wrong, but to put things in perspective, weigh things. Justice is different from violence and retribution. It requires complex accounting,